you mean I'm off the shoot?
A headstrong voice objects. Kurt Duffy rises from his seat in protest. In the middle of a meeting to determine the next course of action for Maison, Kurt Duffy is scolded by Dior Lancôme, the magazine's editor-in-chief. Reclining at the head of the table, Dior simply folds her arms, refusing to meet Duffy's outrage head-on.
Your professionalism is slipping, Kurt. That's me being generous, by the way, as if you had any to begin with.
Duffy seethes, reining in his passion as he knows full well it will land him in even more hot water with Dior. He sighs and returns to his seated position. Dior continues.
First of all, you've never been punctual, and ever since the party, you've been bringing your floozies into the building. I'm handing the upcoming shoot to Weston. You'll be developing and editing his photos.
Duffy eyes his competition sitting across from him. Weston pays little attention to the spat at hand. Slowly sipping a piping hot cup of tea, he then rests on a Polaroid picture used as a makeshift coaster.
No offense to my buddy here,
Duffy continues in protest.
but Weston's only shot product in catalog before. I'm your location guy.
My decision is final.
Dior commands with authority. Duffy gulps heavily, knowing full well when he's been bested.
You underestimate Weston's credentials, Duffy. He's shot in worse conditions than you ever have. I can guarantee you that. I'm letting him take the lead on this one. Upman wants to show the world that Maison is as strong as ever. We'll show them with the first ever spread featuring our new Fab 4.
Dior tosses a manila folder on the table before her. The contents spill out, revealing 4 headshots of Jazmine, Alexa, Eloise, and Sunny. With the meeting adjourned, Duffy is the first to leave and does so with enthusiasm. He is immediately greeted by the aforementioned floozies waiting for him outside the door. 2 women hang on each of Duffy's arms as his mood improves for the better.
Come on, honeys. This place is lame. Let's go somewhere private and have some fun.
He proposes lasciviously. The tawdry photographer, completely absorbed in his company, doesn't even notice as Jazmine passes him by, on her way to a follow-up meeting concerning the very same photoshoot Dior was speaking to Duffy about. Stopped in her tracks, Jazmine turns around in curiosity. But it wasn't Duffy's intense cologne that gave her pause this time.
They look familiar.
She mutters to herself. The sun hangs high in the sky, showering San Francisco in a golden glow. On their way to the photo shoot, Jazmine and Alexa sit in the back seat of an ebony limousine, carried to their destination along with Sunny and Eloise sitting opposite them. The awkward silence is broken by the bubbly Sherilyn Sunny Jackson.
So you're from Chicago, right?
She exclaims, directing her giddy fervor at Jazmine.
How deep is deep dish pizza really? Because I want to eat a pizza so big I can fall into it. There anything like that in Chicago?
Alexa sighs and pinches her brow, her sleeve hiding a smile, cracking her facade. Jazmine is initially awestruck by the ridiculous barrage of verve thrown her way, but inevitably caves into the roaring laugh making its way through the silence.
Yeah, I would too. Shame there isn't.
Jazmine and Sunny echo each other's laughter, only for this festivity to be interrupted by a heavy sigh of exasperation. The 2 revelers turn to Eloise Margot, the downtrodden source of the disgruntled groan.
You got a problem?
Jazmine inquires. Eloise lights herself a smoke and snaps shut her cigarette case before leaning nearer the window and proclaiming the source of her misery.
Oui, I am surrounded by problems.
Jazmine and Sunny are utterly deflated, the atmosphere in the limousine shifting for the morose and somber. Eloise, in her element, continues.
Rein in these jokers, Alexa. You're the lead model, so lead by example. Or would you rather I step up and take that role from under your feet?
No, Eloise, no need.
Alexa grumbles in frustration. Straightening herself up, Alexa ultimately owns up to her Maison responsibilities and inundates the group on the details of their photoshoot.
This is advertising for a partnership line. Fashionable denim. Strength and elegance in one. The oxymoron is the point. So we'll be shooting on a construction site. Out in the open?
Jazmine grimaces.
After the bomb threat the other day? Is this really such a good idea? Not my call.
Alexa insists. Sunny sinks in her seat. The reality of the attack on Maison and the looming threat of the Square Biz killer resurfacing on her otherwise carefree mind. Noticing this, Alexa reassures her team of the safety measures in place.
Not to worry. I've been called for heightened security on this shoot. Just as a precaution, no need to get in your heads over what's been going on. It's business as usual.
The limousine ultimately pulls up to the site of the photo shoot, a high-rise building under construction in downtown San Francisco, consisting mostly of steel beams and littered with such paraphernalia as lumber, stray tools, and cement blocks. Eloise is the first to leave the vehicle, followed by an eager Sunny attached to her shadow. Alexa and Jazmine sit still, mulling over the conversation that just unfolded.
Sunny doesn't seem the type.
Jazmine mutters, speaking softly so as to not be overheard by the driver.
Bottom of the list, but we'll keep our eyes on her as well. I'm more concerned about Eloise.
Alexa adds.
She's gunning for a lead model. Isn't much of a team player, and most of all is so focused on her career that she would do anything to get to the top of it.
Jazmine steps out of the vehicle and stares at the dreary model walking away from her, catching a glimpse of her cold, unflinching expression as Sunny skips right past her.
You can really see it in her eyes.
Jazmine notes.
She doesn't give a damn about anything else.
Jazmine, still fixated on Eloise, watches as the saturnine model marches stoically to the site of the photo shoot, approaching a bench where an older gentleman feeds the local pigeons with breadcrumbs. As Eloise passes by the bench, Jazmine counts fewer birds than she had seen before.
Am I crazy? Did a bunch of those pigeons just vanish?
She wonders, questioning her eyes. Wandering over to confirm what she thinks she saw, Jazmine walks directly into an equally inattentive Weston.
Oh,
Weston exclaims.
I'm sorry. I guess I wasn't really paying attention.
That's okay, neither was I.
Jazmine acknowledges, conceding her own degree of fault. She notices, however, Weston paying far more attention to the Polaroid camera hanging off his neck by a strap, inspecting it for damage.
You're not shooting with that, are you?
Jazmine wonders. The bashful photographer rubs the back of his neck and attempts to compose himself, though still avoiding direct eye contact.
Oh, goodness, no. This is just my own personal camera. I take it with me wherever I go. You know, in case lightning strikes. Speaking of which...
Weston trails off, glancing to the sky as he notices dark clouds rolling across what was once a picturesque day.
It wasn't supposed to rain today, but you never know what's gonna come rolling in off the coast, I guess.
Rain?
Jazmine croaks in trepidation. Clenching her fists in unease, Jazmine's eyes dart across every corner of the construction site and all the windows of the buildings surrounding it. Jazmine knows full well that if it were to rain, her stance abilities would become completely defunct, leaving her defenseless in the event of further La Cantina aggression. A dangerous situation to be in, with limited allies.
Won't this be a problem for the shoot? Do we have to reschedule?
Jazmine wonders out loud in an attempt to persuade Weston to change the date of the photo shoot on the fly. However, Weston seems unconcerned.
Nothing to worry about.
He reassures.
If it rains, it'll just be a different mood. That's why we brought out the studio lights. They should make up for it being overcast.
Moving over to his crew, Weston commands them with authority, instructing them to set up for the photo shoot. While some retrieve the studio lights, others make their way up the construction site's freight elevator to install a large tarp over the canopy of the site. Parked nearby is a small trailer where Jazmine and the other models will transform themselves into what will be shown in the pages of Maison. Weston encourages Jazmine to follow the others and head into the trailer. As Jazmine enters, she nods to the armed guards standing watch, who in turn acknowledge Jazmine with a nod of their own. The door shuts behind Jazmine, and one of the guards turns to the other, smirking with a mouth filled with golden teeth. Despite the overcast sky, the shoot proceeds as scheduled without a single drop of rain to throw a wrench in the works. Flashes of light illuminate an otherwise dim stage as Weston snaps one of his last few photographs of the afternoon.
Sherilyn, can you try leaning on Eloise? Maybe with one arm over her.
Weston instructs. Sunny agrees with a bright smile.
Sure, but you can call me Sunny next time. Only my dad calls me Sherilyn.
Sunny rolls her eyes and pantomimes a gag. Trying out the pose, Sunny lights up as she wraps her arms around Eloise, whose expression curdles into a more so embittered scowl.
Don't get too comfy, Shari.
I know you're trying to upset me with that nickname, but I kinda like it.
The dichotomy between their personalities is as stark as black and white, but at the same time more vivid than any color known to man. Weston trembles in awe, struggling to keep his camera from shaking. Ultimately, he snaps one of the most profound images to ever grace Maison's cover.
This is the one.
He proclaims in self-assurance. However, ever the professional, Weston raises his camera once more to snap further pictures for safety's sake.
Just one more for posterity,
He assures. However, Sunny's attention is snagged by something from behind. Her cheerful disposition withers in an instant. Shrinking in worry, Sunny's discomfort is broadcast to the entire shoot. Eloise notices, remarking.
Is something wrong?
In an attempt to hide her concern, Sunny makes haste and steps off the set in a hurry, shouting back at the group.
Sorry, I need to run to the restroom.
But it's just one more shot! We need the coverage!
Weston exclaims, but Sunny ignores his plea and turns the corner, vanishing from sight. Weston mutters in disbelief.
What was that about? It would have only taken a minute. No helping it, I suppose.
He calls out to the other models, instructing them to wait for Sunny's return to complete the photo shoot.
Take 5, everyone.
As the remaining models take a few breaths and lower their shields, an unfamiliar miniature voice exclaims in alarm.
Watch out! Above you!
The confusion of where this mysterious voice came from is quickly replaced by terror, as while searching for the source of the voice, the 3 models discover a steel beam falling upon them. Jazmine, Alexa, and Eloise manage to leap out of the way in time, the steel beam destroying much of the set, but thankfully not the supermodels. If not for this warning, they surely would have perished.
I knew it!
Jazmine exclaims to herself, ducking behind a mound of shattered concrete bricks.
It's La Cantina again, isn't it? That was close!
The high-pitched voice from moments ago speaks up again, this time right in Jazmine's ear. She turns to face an intact concrete block with a smiley face sticker slapped on its side. Out of the sticker speaks the voice once more.
You didn't get hurt, did you? All my friends got broke, did it? But you seem okay. What the?
Jazmine has little time to be awestruck as the 2 guards watching over them step into the brightness of the one remaining spotlight. The taller of the guards kicks it over, cursing at the other's ineptitude.
Oh, you said you got this shit under control. Now we out in the open and gotta do this the hard way.
Suddenly, approximately 52 rivets come falling down, startling the man. He chides his partner once again.
And warn me next time that's gonna happen, god damn it!
Removing a handful of cash from his pockets, the verbose guard showers the 2 of them in a cloud of paper bills. When the veil of money settles, Beefeater and Crow Inn Royal stand center stage in a more recognizable form, eschewing their pretense as security guards. Beefeater now sports his oversized fur coat, and Crow his fishnet top and feathered skirt. The golden-clad assassin proceeds to point at each of the models in a threatening manner.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Y'all gonna give up or am I gonna have to slap a hoe?
In that beat of silence, Eloise makes a run for safety. Unsure of what's happening, she prioritizes her own life and makes an escape. However, doing so puts a target on her back, and Beefeater decides then and there to give chase.
Make my choice easier then.
However, Jazmine steps in his way, summoning Limelight and fully prepared to put an end to La Cantina's assault then and there. Flustered, Beefeater stops in his tracks. A smile slowly returns to his face when a single drop of rain hits the pavement between them. Jazmine, as well, is taken aback. That single drop of rain turns into a drizzle, which causes Limelight to dematerialize entirely. Beefeater casually strides past Jazmine, pushing her aside with his superior physical strength.
Based on what Boss Man said, you ain't shit right now. I'll come back for your ass later. Besides, we know for a fact that you ain't the motherfucker we looking for.
In response, Jazmine pulls out a hidden firearm and aims it at the back of Beefeater's head.
Stand or no stand, I can still shoot you!
Jazmine fires without hesitation, but her bullet is deflected by the unexpected appearance of a riot shield in Beefeater's hands. With Money Talk standing beside him, Beefeater taunts Jazmine with a stack of cash he uses to fan his face. Throwing the shield directly at Jazmine, he knocks the gun out of her hand and continues to follow Eloise's trail, leaving a defenseless Jazmine behind. Jazmine lurches to follow Beefeater, but Alexa, placing a hand on Jazmine's shoulder, suggests instead that she take cover.
No mere human can fight a stand user and win. You're powerless in the rain.
The duo is forced to split as another steel beam falls in between them, pushing Alexa even deeper into the construction site. She shouts out to Jazmine while becoming more and more confined by falling debris.
Get somewhere safe and wait for me!
Crow takes slackened steps as he pursues the fleeing Alexa, herding her as if a sheepdog. Alexa dashes to the construction site's single freight elevator that would take her to a higher level in the skeletal edifice. Panting, Alexa collects her panicked thoughts.
He must be the one making these steel beams fall. According to Mina, Beefeater's stand couldn't accomplish something like that.
She thinks to herself.
And I must be heading right into where he wants me.
Arriving at the elevator's destination, Alexa summons private eyes and scans the environment with both satellites, reassuring herself of the information obtained from it.
It's at least well made, and the tarp Weston had installed is keeping everything safe from the weather.
Upon stepping on planks of wood stretching across the steel beams, Alexa confirms they are in no danger of splintering and giving way. Glancing down through the web of scaffolds and beams, she notices Crow standing many stories below her on the ground floor, observing her with a vacant stare.
If he's down there and I disable this elevator, he won't have any way to get up to me.
Alexa surmises. However, from behind her she hears the moaning and creaking of metal. One of the steel beams near her crackles, falling from its place and clambering to the ground floor. As it lands, the beam topples back towards the building and braces one end of itself on the 4th level, exactly where Alexa stands. The scantily clad assassin walks up the makeshift ramp, his footsteps echoing as they bring Crow directly face to face with Alexa.
Quite the stand you have.
The Russian agent notes.
Before each steel beam falls, the bolts holding them in place are the first to disappear.
Alexa pauses for a few more seconds as if waiting for something. Just then, the bolts in question fall from the empty site where the steel beam was once secured, pelting the temporary wooden floor with 52 bolts. Alexa smirks.
52 rivets reappear after 52 seconds.
She discerns, stating aloud her observation of her enemy's purported abilities.
Private eyes sees everything. Did you think you could hide your stand secret from me?
In response to his all-seeing opponent, Crow cracks the faintest smirk and summons his stand to face its challenger. The inhuman entity with multiple arms stands tall, cloaked in dark robes and bearing resemblance to a plague doctor of old.
You accurately surmised the ability of counting crows after only seeing it a few times. I'm impressed.
He whispers in flattery. Alexa, with a single private eyes at the ready to detect even the smallest movement from her enemy, braces herself for an intense battle with the La Cantina assassin, Crow in Royal. Having retreated from the abrupt battlefield, Eloise ducks away in a dark alley, attempting to hide herself from the pursuing Beefeater. Convinced she has shaken him off her tail, Eloise takes a moment to breathe and absorbs her surroundings. Each step she takes leads her deeper into the darkness, her own footfalls clamoring in a loud reverberation that shatters her solace with every step taken. In this silence, Eloise is able to finally put her thoughts together.
Those two idiots didn't even have the decency to pretend they were shocked when the guards attacked us.
Eloise bemoans,
Just who are Alexa and JoJo?
slowly proceeding down the alley. Eloise discovers a split in her path. Before her are two options, one path to the right of her and one straight ahead. Feeling the pressure to keep moving forward, uncertain of whether or not her pursuer will ultimately discover her, Eloise takes one more step. But as she does so, a series of shrill voices echoes in the darkness.
Not that way!
One voice instructs,
He set up traps that way!
claims another.
Keep going straight!
They continue to advise. Though startled, Eloise reaches in her pockets to find her cigarette case. She struggles to strike her lighter in the damp air, but ultimately shines a minuscule torch on her environment. Eloise witnesses dozens of smiley face stickers plastered on the walls surrounding her, moving their drawn-on mouths and speaking to her of menacing omens.
What in the world?
Eloise exclaims in alarm, filled with dread by the absurdity. Eloise nonetheless heeds their advice as a set of footsteps, not her own, echoes in the distance. She makes a break for the suggested path, if not simply to escape the unnerving phenomenon before her. Arriving on the other end, Eloise is met by a sheet metal fence with a large hole punched through it. Squeezing through, the desperate model finds herself in a junkyard, mostly filled with disused vehicles and scrap metal. Approaching her from behind, Beefeater arrives with a look of disappointment.
Threw some fat cash round to set up that minefield you avoided. Spent a small fortune on your ungrateful ass, and you ain't gonna let me have some fun?
Beefeater folds his arms as though offended that the model would dare try to stay alive.
Let me guess. You got yourself a stand?
Curious of Beefeater's words, Eloise turns to face him, no longer concerned with escaping. She removes the ever-present raspberry-colored beret on her head and tosses it aside.
What was it?
Eloise mutters in interest. Reaching for her brow once more, a new hat mysteriously finds its way upon Eloise's dome. The chapeau resembles a stereotypical witch's hat, with its wide brim catching the rain, adorned with 9 cat skulls lining the band. Gripping the brim, Eloise reveals the name of her apparent stand.
Do you mean to say, my witchy woman?
Calvin sits patiently in a run-down Lincoln Continental, parked blocks away and on the opposite end of the street from Maison. This vehicle is indeed the very same one that carried Calvin and Jazmine to the fateful party in that ivory tower. Normally, Calvin would utilize Mickey's stand to borrow a more extravagant automobile, but having left his partner behind, Calvin falls beyond the range of dangerous toys to allow such a feat. Instead, he speaks to some unknown person who approaches from behind the car. The sound of a horse's hooves make their way up to the driver's side where Calvin sits, the La Cantina leader addressing this visitor.
Finally showed up. Hey, Jaeger.
Arriving upon his steed, a caramel-colored female horse with blonde hair, some cowboy of a man who goes by the name Jägermeister tips his Stetson to Calvin.
Y'all got me doing what sort of dirty work this time, boss? According to Beefeater, someone inside Maison has a stand that can swap memories between them and whoever she comes into contact with.
Calvin reveals. He hands Jaeger a photograph taken candidly of a blissfully unaware Mina Moore.
Who knows what she learned?
And I'm out to tidy up them loose ends. Is that it? You know I don't like bringing harm to a lady.
I'm not asking you to like it,
Calvin commands. Jaeger chuckles, pocketing the trinket.
All right.
He turns his horse around, putting some small distance between himself and Calvin as he continues to protest.
Oh, I'll do it. But this is some dirty work, Calvin. Exploiting the others as a distraction to let me take care of one little girl. You're a cold man is all, using your men like this.
Jaeger kicks his steed with his spurs, giving Calvin no opportunity to defend his decision, speeding off in the direction of his target.
Like I said,
Calvin mutters in discontent to himself.
I'm not asking you to like it.